Hello again, everybody. So again, I'm trying to make up for the lack of videos, and this is sort of going to be not a new series, but just a fun little video I'm doing because I know I already made another video about the abortion debate, but I just wanted to make another video because part of this channel is not just common ground material solutions, but inspiring better and more educated debates on issues so we can more accurately figure out the sort of correct stance. Now, of course, I'm not going to share my opinion on this particular issue. I actually find myself to be pretty in the middle, like I am for most issues, but I'm just going to be talking about, it's sort of a fun video for me, bad arguments that people of both sides make on the abortion debate. So I'm just going to be going through some common arguments I've been hearing from people on both sides of the issue and talking about why they're bad, why you shouldn't make those arguments, etc. So I hope you enjoy. So first, I'm going to be talking about the pro-choice bad arguments. So this is bad arguments from people who support the right of females to get abortions. So the first bad argument is that men cannot have an opinion. Now, I know that I sound like a man, I am a man, but the reason why I think that this is not a very good argument is just because I have a different experience. I will never be able to have an abortion. It doesn't mean that my opinion is wrong in the first place. So perhaps it clouds my judgment, but if a man is making an argument and he backs up that argument with logic and facts, obviously that can't be answered by just arguing that he is a man, so he doesn't have the right to have an opinion. Obviously, if the man has facts to back up his opinion, he makes accurate claims about the world, he has indisputable points, then obviously he's allowed to have that opinion, and you can't just push that away by saying he's a man, therefore he can't have an opinion. That's the same sort of logic as saying that someone of a certain race cannot have an opinion about how to solve certain issues of people of another race. For example, if one race is having a lot of economic issues and someone from another race says, I think that this solution would work, and then someone from the race having economic issues says, you can't have that opinion because you don't know, because you're not this race, obviously that is not the right idea because the person could have a good solution to the issue. Just because someone has different experiences doesn't mean their opinion about your experience is wrong. It might cloud their judgment, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. Second, using rape to justify all abortions. Now, this is actually a very common one that I see. And what this is when people try to say, oh, so you're against abortion, so you think that people who are raped should not be able to have an abortion for the conceived child. Now, the reason why this is bad is it's not an inherently bad argument, but it's used in a bad way. So, for example, there are a lot of people who are pro-life who will agree that in the instance of rape, an exception is necessary, but you can't use the exception of rape, which makes up for an astronomically low percentage of abortions, and use that to justify all other instances of abortion, because that obviously is a fallacy in which you use the exception to justify the rule. So you can make pro-choice arguments for all abortion, but you can't use rape but you can't use the example of rape and then take that to justify all other instances of abortion. You have to justify them separately. 3. Pro-lifers secretly just want to control women. The reason why this is not a good argument is because you can argue, so the premise of this argument might not be inherently bad, but it's executed in a poor way. So what I mean by that is you can argue that abortion leads to a restriction of women's rights, but you can't argue that all pro-lifers are just misogynists who want to control women. The reason why is because it just sparks hostility and resentment, and it's probably just untrue. No, pro-lifers aren't all secretly misogynists. They just believe that a fetus in the womb carries the same amount of moral weight as a human who has already been born. They don't want to secretly control women because there are obviously women who are pro-lifers. The people who want to control women make up for obviously an astronomically low percentage of pro-lifers. And no, so you could argue that abortion leads to a restriction of female autonomy, but you can't argue that all people who are pro-life are inherently against women, because A, it's untrue, and B, it just sparks hostility and makes the country more divided. 4th, abortion laws won't stop abortion, they will just stop safe abortion. So the reason why I don't like this argument is I find it awfully hypocritical, because these are the same people who make fun of people who oppose gun control by saying that gun laws won't stop people, which, by the way, I also think is a stupid argument. So you can't argue against the law by saying it'll be circumvented, because if all laws, because the logical conclusion is that no laws are ever necessary because all laws will inevitably be circumvented. The point of a law is to recognize that something is bad, and if abortion is deemed as bad, it obviously should be illegal. It should be illegal because legal recognition is key. No, obviously abortion laws are not going to stop all instances of abortion, but the point of pro-lifers is that they believe that abortion laws will inevitably stop some abortions that would have happened, which they believe is a good thing. So you can't argue that laws don't work, because the logical conclusion is that no laws are then necessary. And lastly, you think women should be killed trying to give birth. The reason why I don't like this argument is it's just not true. Now, this argument really bothers me because it's just truly not true. The rest are sort of unjustifiable opinions, but this is just objectively not true. Almost no pro-life person, I've never encountered a pro-life person on the internet or in real life who thinks that women who they know where giving birth would kill them should not get an abortion. So I don't really have much else to say here. It's just not true. So now, pro-life bad arguments. First, and I know I'm going to get hate for this, but it's religion. So the reason why this is not a good argument to support the pro-life position is that many people who are pro-choice are secular. Oh, whoops, sorry. Let me just go back to that picture. Religion. So let me get back on topic. So the reason why this is a bad argument is because most people who are pro-choice are not religious. They're atheist, agnostic, they don't care, whatever. So the reason why using religion to justify abortion is a bad thing is because people who are pro-life inherently don't care about your religious reasons because they are based on faith and not necessarily based on things like the material world or facts. So this is like talking to someone in a language which they don't understand. It doesn't mean anything to them, and it doesn't mean anything to pro-choice people, and they can't understand it. So using religious reasons to try to justify abortion to secular people is not a good idea. That being said, if you encounter a religious person who is pro-choice, then yes, you can make religious reasons why abortion is bad. However, I'm talking in general. You come across someone you don't know, the rule of thumb is don't use religion to justify abortion because it doesn't mean anything to certain people. Second, you're a murderer. So this is more complicated because it's like the female control thing where you can argue that abortion is murder, but you cannot start with a sort of ad hominem attack because it just breeds hostility. Don't call someone else a murderer. No, not. For example, many people just don't know a lot about the abortion debate, and perhaps if they knew more, they would agree that maybe maybe they would agree with the pro-life position and say, oh wow, it's murder. But you can't start off by accusing someone of being a murderer because it just breeds hostility and resentment. So you can argue that abortion is a murder, but you can't attack the person as being a murderer. So there's an important sort of distinction to make between those two things. Next. Completely ignoring how to help unwanted babies once they are born. Now, this is one of the most annoying things to me about people who are pro-life. So people who are pro-life want to protect babies in the womb, but then once babies are born, they kind of just forget about them and they don't really care. And this really bothers me because if you're pro-life, then yes, you should want to help babies once they are born. I talked about this in my last video, Common Ground Abortion, about ways to help babies, perhaps better foster care systems, adoption systems, etc. But if you really want to defend your pro-life position, which obviously I'm fine with, I find myself in the middle, if you really want to defend your pro-life position, you have to be able to talk about solutions to unwanted babies once they are born, because if abortion is made illegal, there are never going to be babies who are birthed who are not wanted. Next, not holding males accountable. So what I mean by this is that people talk about how females are irresponsible. They have a ton of sex and then they have a lot of abortions and they're very irresponsible, whatever. But you have to hold males accountable. For example, if a female has unprotected sex with a male and conceives a child, then you have to be able to hold the male responsible too and say that if the female decides to give birth, that male should be in their life. In my opinion, and in the opinion of many others that I've talked to, there should be some sort of law holding males accountable who have conceived a child with a female. Because a large reason for why females get abortion in the first place is that they know that they will be in a bad situation as a single parent because a very irresponsible male would abandon them, and therefore they go out and get an abortion. So we should hold males accountable, and I don't see a lot of pro-life people doing this. We should hold males accountable who conceive the child. We should make sure that they are involved. They're not being irresponsible. They help the mother, whether they want to be with them as a partner or not. They have to be there to help. And lastly, saying what if the unborn child grows up to cure cancer? So a lot of people actually like this argument and talk about it a lot. So let me explain why this is just an awful argument. It's not a good argument because it easily invites the counter argument of what if this child grows up and becomes the next Hitler? So the reason why this is a bad argument is because you can provide a counter example which disproves the example and fundamentally nullifies the argument. Yes, the unborn child could grow up to be the greatest human ever, but they also could grow up to be the worst human ever. And we don't know which it is, so obviously it just defeats the argument in the first place. Also, another response is that by logic, masturbation is bad because any one of those sperm could have fertilized an egg that would develop into a human that cured cancer. So most pro-life people are fine with masturbation, but this sort of logic would say that masturbation is immoral because one of those sperm cells emitted could have resulted in a child who could have done great things in life. So the reason why I don't like this argument is because it forces you to defend something that you shouldn't, that masturbation is bad, and it invites counterexamples that disprove the example. So, in conclusion, we should just have better debates about the abortion issue. It wasn't the common ground video. I'm just trying to help you all maybe win debates more, have more productive debates, have less contentious debates, whatever. It was a fun video for me. I just wanted to talk about a few of the arguments that I hear that I think are very bad. So I hope you enjoy. I hope your debates go better. And thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.